So let's dive into something really fascinating today. What if the Quran isn't just a book you read, but a living, dynamic system you interact with? The source material we're looking at presents it as a kind of spiritual operating system, one that actually has a mathematical blueprint for changing your very core.
Now, I know what you're thinking. That's a pretty wild question, right? Can something as deep and personal as spiritual transformation actually be modeled with an equation? Well, what if I told you the answer is yes? That there's a framework where things like faith and trials and divine mercy all work together with the kind of precision you'd see in a mathematical function. And this is the blueprint. It's a cubic function. Now, don't worry, you absolutely do not need to be a math genius to get this. Just picture this equation as a map for a journey. Every single piece of this formula, every letter, every number, represents a key phase in a powerful spiritual process that's described right in the Quran.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the blueprint itself. Then we'll see how you, the reader, activate it. After that, we'll get into the three-stage engine that really drives the change. We'll also cover the divine anchor that keeps it all from flying apart. And finally, we'll see the critical threshold where this whole system resolves.
Okay, let's start with the big picture. This equation isn't just for show. It's a model for a journey. The idea here is that it's a complete system. It's designed to take an input, which is your own intention and engagement, and guide it through a set of transformative stages to bring you to a single unified destination. It's a spiritual path with a surprisingly clear structure.
So if this is a system, what turns it on? Every system needs some kind of energy, some kind of input to get it going. In this spiritual equation, the most important part, the absolute key, is the variable, the part we call X. So, what is X? Or maybe the better question is, who is X? See, X isn't just some abstract number. It's you. It's the reader. It's the conscious energy, the deliberate intention, and the focused engagement that you bring to the text. This whole powerful system just lies dormant, waiting, until a reader decides to flip the switch. And this verse right here, this is the command to activate. O Yahya, take the scripture with strength. That's not a gentle suggestion. It's the ignition key for the entire system. It's saying this isn't about passively scanning words on a page. It's about grabbing hold of the book with a powerful, conscious will. And only when you do that does the engine of transformation even begin to turn. So you've turned the key, you've activated the system with your engagement. Now what? How does the transformation actually happen? Well, it's not just one big zap. It unfolds across three very distinct layers, and each layer is represented by one of the coefficients in our function. Think of them as the gears of this powerful spiritual engine. These three stages are the core of the engine. The journey starts out on a pretty straight path, a linear trial. But then it evolves. It moves into a cyclical phase of refinement, where you learn lessons over and over. And finally, it all culminates in this incredibly powerful moment of collapse and rebirth, where old ways of thinking are completely torn down to make way for the new. Let's look at each gear. Okay, stage one, the linear term. This is your straight path forward. Think of it as that initial phase of real commitment. It's about building a foundation of righteousness through sheer patience and discipline, especially when things get tough. The source material links this kind of steadfastness to the story of Ismā, which is all about unwavering obedience. Then we get to the second stage, and this is where the path starts to curve. Life isn't just a straight line anymore, is it? Here, the system guides you through the huge cycles of existence. Life and death, loss, and then restoration. It's this looping recursive process of learning and relearning that forges what the source calls rushed, which is true, mature guidance. And that brings us to the final and most powerful stage. This is a total inversion, a complete, dramatic collapse of all the false structures you've built inside yourself. It's a phase of annihilation, where falsehood is just totally uprooted. It's symbolized by the story of Lut and the overturning of a corrupt world to make way for something pure and true. Now, with all of this cycling, collapsing, and total restructuring going on, you might be asking yourself, what keeps this whole system from just spinning out of control into chaos? And that is the absolutely crucial role of the constant term in our equation. And what's so incredible is that the anchor is just one number, 19. Now, according to the source, this number is anything but random. It's presented as the mathematical seal over the entire Quran, acting as the system's divine anchor and its ultimate fail-safe. But it gets deeper. This constant 19 is actually made of two parts, 10 and 9. In this framework, the number 10 represents the divine command, that call to action and completion. And the number 9 represents preservation, a sacred, protected space where truth and life itself are kept safe from any decay. Put them together, and you get this incredibly powerful anchor of both divine action and divine protection. So basically, its job is to act as a boundary. It stops entropy, that natural slide towards disorder, from taking over. It's a guarantee that no matter how wild the journey gets, no matter how intense the trials or the collapses are, every single path is anchored. It's designed so that you always, ultimately, return to one single, unified, divine source. Okay, so let's put it all together now. We've got the reader's activation, we have the three-stage engine of transformation, and we have the divine anchor holding it all in place. So where does this whole dynamic system naturally lead? What's the final stop on this map? Well, believe it or not, when you solve this equation, it points to a single, unique destination. It has only one real solution, and it's this number, approximately negative 0.2255. Now, this isn't just some random number that a calculator spits out. In this framework, it's a precise coordinate, a very specific point on the map of this spiritual journey. And this is where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. Look at that number again, 0.2255. Now look at the reference for this specific Qur'ānic verse, chapter 22, verse 55. It's a direct reflection. The mathematics of the system points with stunning precision to a specific line right in the text. So here's the key takeaway. The mathematical destination of the system perfectly matches the theme of the verse it points to. And that verse is all about being in a state of doubt right before a sudden, decisive event. This means the formula's resolution point isn't the end, it's the final unstable moment, the very edge of doubt, right before the final transformation is triggered. This is the climax of the whole process. The reader engages, they evolve through trial and recursion, and they finally arrive at this critical threshold of doubt. The moment they cross it, the final cubic collapse of falsehood is activated, and that immediately resolves back to the divine unity anchored by that number 19. And that brings this entire incredible system right back to a very personal, very immediate question. This whole dynamic, this immense potential for transformation is just sitting there, waiting to be activated. The blueprint is laid out. The only variable left is you. So the question that the system itself is asking is, when will you answer the call from verse 1912 and hold the book with strength?